ajmahari here to talk a little bit more about Hoovers in relationships between people with BPD, non-borderlines, people who often have codependency, among maybe some other issues in your life that makes these relationships and betrayal bonds unconsciously unattractive. BPD Hoovers, and often even the BPD Ex, so the codependent, let's just say, stealth reverse Hoovers or reverse Hoovers. After a BPD ghosts you or discards you, or you break up with them, or it's just this on-off recycling relationship, which so many people trying to survive a BPD relationship breakup are really in that limbo place for a while and then recycling relationships, and you're not getting to the breakup. So what I'm here to say today is that BPD Hoovers, or Hoovers either way in these situationships, are deceptive, manipulative, and they don't work. You can't recapture what you thought you had and how great the initial idealization phase was. You can't, whether the borderline Hoovers you, and when the borderline Hoovers you, it is deceptive and manipulative because it's full of false promises and promises to go to therapy and that things will be different. And you might be getting this Hoover 2 weeks from the last time you heard from them. Or it could be months. Nobody with BPD can get into therapy and change much of anything in weeks or months or even a couple of years. And so when people with codependency, please hear this with no judgment, when you Hoover them back, there's unconscious reasons that are driving you to do this. This is why you can't stop thinking about them, why you're ruminating. You gotta have that BPD Ex back because you're in so much pain and you want the relief from the pain. But if you get the BPD Ex back, it's going to be oh such temporary relief because they are, maybe consciously, often unconsciously, when people with BPD Hoover, they're just coming for what they need. They tell you what you want to hear. They're setting you up again. And what are you doing if you Hoover them and you get their attention again after they, ghost or discard or whatever the case? You have some manipulation going on too. I'm not saying it's like the borderline manipulation. And is there deception in the codependent hoovering or reverse hoovering of the BPD Ex? Maybe, but you're not trying to deceive the person with BPD. You might be really more inclined to try to live up to your promises than somebody with BPD. So you're promising them that you'll do better. Whatever you think you did wrong, you won't do that again. You'll just somehow, now that you know, I've heard this from so many clients, I know way more about BPD now, so I think I can hack it. I think I'll understand better when he or she does this, that, and the other thing. Rages, is triggered all the time, the jade conversations, etc. So the deception in the codependent reverse Hoover of the borderline Ex, not that you're lying or anything, you're deceiving yourself, unfortunately. That is super even more important than, well, or equal to, it's not helpful, like BPD Deceptive Hoovers aren't helpful. And people with codependency in a different way than people with BPD, when, they go on and they use the next person and it all falls apart. But you might still be holding their object constancy because people with BPD have no object constancy. And so they want to come back and use you. They want to come back for safety. They want to come back to reconnect with you as object other, more often than not, mother, wounding mother never had. There'll be really little to no re-idealization when the borderline Hoovers you back. If you're still open and in contact and waiting for that Hoover, because all you can do is ruminate and focus on them. And by the way, this is what drives so many people back to the borderline, as well as what you are unconsciously repeating from your childhood in a way that you were wounded in your childhood. So that's unconscious, though. People aren't always aware of that when they're reverse hoovering the borderline. These Hoovers, whether it comes from the borderline or the codependent non-borderline, they are manipulative and deceptive. Now, not in the same ways. BPD Hoovers, manipulative, deceptive in different ways than codependent ones. And it doesn't mean that I'm saying that if you're a codependent and you are going to reverse Hoover your BPD Ex, you just want to get back, the relationship back, that you're being deceptive or manipulative on purpose. No. And some people with BPD aren't either. But the point is, you can't, neither of you, the borderline who hoovers or the codependent who reverse hoovers, and the relationships are on and off, you can't capture, neither one of you can recapture the initial idealization phase. When you thought this person with BPD, never mind what they were thinking, they aren't really that aware of it often, but when you thought they were that man or woman for you, when you thought they were just the person that you've always been looking for, the person that you wanted to marry, the person that you wanted to have children with, and then what happened? BPD Hoovers are deceptive and manipulative, and they're just not true, because they're going to promise, they're going to tell you what you want to hear, they're going to say everything that they think will get them back in your door. That's just setting you up again to go around the same cycle, iteration, that's going to speed up faster and faster every time you get back with the borderline, if they hoover you. And if you're reverse hoovering them, can you admit, does this make sense to you? Can you at least intellectually admit that you're asking for more? I don't mean literally. You want more from them, yes, but you're going to get so much more hurt. Again, just like you did before. Or many people are doing this BPD or Hoover, BPD's Hoover the Ex, and then the relationship recycles again, or the codependent hoovers the BPD Ex, reverse hoovers the BPD Ex, and the relationship sort of starts again. But the thing is, nothing's changed. Nothing's changed for the borderline. Nothing's changed for you as a codependent, and the woundedness that you're carrying, and why these relationships and betrayal bonds aren't good for you either. Like I said, you're not going to get the re-idealization that you hope for. And when people keep recycling these relationships, the borderline split to devaluation, because there's no re-idealization, the split to devaluation will be deeper, faster, stronger, and just more repetitive. And you'll keep getting spit out the other end. And then, will they hoover you back? Will you reverse hoover them back? You see, the point to all of this is that people with BPD have their own stuff going on. Let me just leave it like that. They don't have a self, etc. They're looking for identity through you. You can represent safety and object constancy for them, and this they don't know consciously. But what's going on for people with codependency? Well, you're in so much agony after these relationships, and if you just all of a sudden, like so many people report with the quiet borderline, right? Everything was just fine 10 minutes ago. Everything was great for a week. Everything, like specifically 1 week in a row. Or hours or days in a row, and everything was great. Everything was great. You were really close, and the next day, boom, they're gone. Well, borderline's fear of abandonment and fear of engulfment, and the initial, the really core aspect of not only where splitting comes from in people with BPD, why they split, and that major defense mechanism, but the reality of the approach avoidance conflict, and they have disorganized attachment. And they don't really know who they are, so they don't love self and they can't love you. So this is just like a reminder for some. Maybe some people find this for the first time. But, so that's the BPD side of the deception and manipulation. And there's no recapture of the relationship, or, you know, they can't capture you because, I mean, maybe in a way, because you want back with them. But they can't capture you because they really are seeking identity through you. You're the object of their parent representation, and they don't really see or hear you for who you really are. And then codependents doing the reverse hoover of a BPD Ex, more often than not, if people can only be more aware that you are trying, why do you want them back? Well, maybe you think it could actually work the second, the third, the fifth, the 8th, the 10th, the 12th, the 20th time. And I'm not being facetious. People are doing this often and more. But it never works out because people with BPD have their relational difficulties and communication difficulties and lack of self. And people with codependency have things that they need to heal too. You are pursuing the BPD Ex, if you are. You're pursuing them because that's to get something that you didn't get from your childhood. So similar to what borderlines are doing, but not the same. It's the agony of the codependent, the rumination, the cognitive dissonance, and more. And often it can involve limerence, it can involve different addictions, and some people think they're just chasing dopamine. It's not exactly that simple, but that's part of the mix. You're continuing to keep this illusion, not really dream, of making this relationship work with the borderline. You're trying to keep that alive. But I know so many of my clients over the years, why have they gone back, recycle, or many times because they simply don't know how to cope with how they feel when they're not doing that. So, you might want to think about trying to work with someone. I'm out here if I resonate with you. Been doing this work with clients to help them heal and get to no contact and break these betrayal bonds with people with BPD and do the healing from codependency. Change your life. That's what you have control over, making that choice for yourself today. So if you resonate with me, I'm out here to work with you. No matter which way the Hoover goes, these BPD situationship, relationship, recycling Hoovers cannot recapture the beginning. They can't recapture the idealization phase. No amount of trying is going to get people back there. And if you think like something feels like it's like that, or it seems like that, it's going to quickly fade away way faster than it did in the beginning. Really, on the borderline side, it's a whole lot of things. What they need, they're using you. They don't really see you or hear you. They can't love you. They don't attach to you. It's just cycles and cycles of their repetition compulsion cycles. They can't do any better unless they've had years of therapy, frankly. And so on the codependent side of reverse Hoovers and these Hoovers, or waiting for the ex and then not being no contact so you get Hoovered back into the whole situation, it's often because your nervous system is on fire. You can't relax. The rumination, the what ifs, because so many people with codependency think you're really the reason this borderline just chucked you or monkey branched to somebody else. It's not true. It's not true. You didn't do anything wrong. You can't do enough right. And the more you give to somebody with BPD and the more you try to love them, the more they're going to punish you for it. BPD Deceptive Hoovers and the manipulation and the self-deception of people with codependency who are just in such worlds of hurt that they want out real quick. Nobody enjoys pain. So you want out of your agony really quick, and the fastest thing you know, and the only way you think maybe that you can get out of your agony, is to get the ex back. So anybody out there recommending that you should do this? No, it's not a healthy thing to do. Are many of you doing it, gonna do it? Yeah, absolutely, because you make your own choices, and you have your own, I mean this with all compassion and respect, your own lostness right now. Because you would not stay in the BPD Hoover loop of impossibility if you weren't really hurting, and if there wasn't something that you need to know more about yourself to get into a healing and recovery process, working with someone like myself, if I resonate with you, to make the roller coaster stop. Because people are vomiting off of the roller coaster all the time. People's nervous systems are on fire, like I said. People are emotionally wrecked and getting worse, and you're losing yourself. So the deception and the impossibility and the manipulation, the illusion of BPD Hoovers and relationships that'll work out. These relationships don't work out. You can find that out in a healing recovery journey as soon as you choose it, and it's difficult, but you can learn to cope with that difficult, the pain, until you work your way through it. Or you can find it out years later. The choice is yours. And of course, I would urge people today with BPD to go to therapy and just stay on their own and work it through and get somewhere in their lives and stop hurting themselves and all the people around them. And I would urge codependents or non-borderlines who are involved in these relationships, gotta get off the roller coaster. And guess what? In this scenario, I'm going to use a metaphor, like the roller coaster is already whipping out of control, right? It's not like that nice ride at whatever fair or place you go to sit on a roller coaster, the actual thing, but it's like this sped up thing, and it's constantly trying to throw you off it. And so unfortunately, the only way off of it is you're going to fall off of it. And it isn't going to be pleasant. It's really emotionally jarring, shocking, and devastating. But you need to choose you today.